Good morning. Today is Wednesday. Today we are learning the third Perek of Sukkah, all about the mitzvah of Arba Minim. Today's shiur is the Uli Nishbas, Ahar Nachum and Succah Kohen, Yishel Morcha B'Shev, Sabracha Sarah Shmuel Levi, Moshe Ben Yosef, and Ruchama Tova Esther Bas Yaakov David HaKohen, and the Shemas will have an Aliyah. And Refuah Shleim of Adasar Bas Leah, Chana Pesel Bas Yeta, Yisrael Ben Rachel Leah, Rachel Bas Pesel Zelda, Arba Minim Ben Risha, Chayim with David Bela, Refuah Shleim of Sel Shar Chal Yisrael. And as a schus for Naftali Tzvi ben Rivka Blima, Aaron Levi ben Avram David Halevi, and Shalom Yehuda ben Chayas Armindel, Shefer Bracha Batzlacha ben Baruchnis Gashmis and all their endeavors. Okay. Lulav Perek Gimel Mishnah Aleph. Lulav Hagazo Vayavish Pas. This is a very long Perek today, so hang in there. 15 Mishnahs to do that. I think that's the longest Perek that we've seen yet in our journey here throughout Shas Mishnahs. Lulav Hagazo Vayavish Pas. Stolen lulav or dry one is puzzle. Shall Asherah shall Irani Dachas puzzle. A lulav of an Asherah, and Asherah is the tree that was worshipped as an avodah zarah, or of a subverted town, meaning that a town of idol worshippers that was going to be destroyed. It's puzzle. Right. So by an Ashira and by an Ernidachas, since they all have to be burned, then it's as if they don't exist, and therefore you cannot use them for the mitzvah. Also, regarding a lulav hagazel, a lulav that was stolen, it's a mitzvah babi avera. So you stole it, and then you made a bracha on it. That's a mitzvah babi avera, and you are not yotze the mitzvah of lulav for that. Good morning, Benny. Nikdam Rosho Nifritsu Allah Puzzle. A lulav whose top was cut off or had most of its leaves torn off is invalid. That's more common, especially since I'm in the business to have a puzzle lulav due to the tiomas being split. That is more common. Nowadays, you don't really see anything coming to the market of a lulav hagazel. I mean, lulav hagazel you could have if someone, forgets to pay for his lulav, or like he steals a lulav from the shuk and he wants to make a bracha on it, then that's going to be a problem. The yavish is also common nowadays. Sometimes the lulav can come in too dry, or you want to try to use your lulav from last year. Last year was green and now it's like brown. You can't do that. Finding a lulav of an ashera or any dachas bismanazeh is few and far between, unless you broke one off from your Christmas tree. But that's the wrong type of mint anyway. So I never saw anyone put Christmas decorations on a palm tree, but who knows? Whatever. Okay. Never do a lulav kosher. If its leaves are spread apart like the branches of a tree, but they are attached to the lulav, it is kosher. Rabbi Yehuda says, "Yagdenim lamala." In order for such a lulav to be kosher, he must bind the leaves together at the top, so that they lie against the spine of the lulav. Tzine harabazok gesheras. Lilies from the palms of the Iron Mountain, whose leaves are short and sparse, are kosher. This is a place in Eretz Yisrael. Our Barzel is somewhere in Eretz Yisrael, which is discussed in the Gemara. Not for today's conversation. Lulav sheyesh bo shlosh tvachim kedilin anea bo kasher. Lulav that has a length of 3 tvachim, which is the minimum length of the hadassim and aravot when they're bound together with it, plus another tefach in which to hold it, to shake it, is kosher. You could have a short lulav as long as it's like 4 tvachim. Mishnah Beis, hadas hagazel vayavish puzzle. Stolen hadas or dry one is invalid. That stems with the lulav. Shall shiur shall nidachas puzzle. Same rule over here. You can't use a hadas from an ashera or from an nidachas. Nikdar rosh the nifus olav or shahayu anavim rubas me'ala puzzle. A hadas whose top was cut off, which is common nowadays. where most of its leaves torn off or has more berries than leaves is possible. I never saw hadassim for sukkahs that had berries on them. Usually, you see those like in the flower shops, like for Shabbos, which is not a problem. The small flowers that have berries on them, that's fine. But for sukkahs, it's possible. V'im miyat and kasha, but if one made its berries less, he plucked off some of the berries, so there's more leaves than berries. It is kosher. V'im mimat miyantif, but you cannot, pluck off the berries from your hadassim on yantif, because that is considered a tikkun kli. You're repairing the utensil, which is usher on yantif. Mishnah Gimel, Araba Gezuva v'Yavesha apostle. Stolen Araba or dry one is possible. Consistent with that too. Shall Eshera shall Eridachas Psula. And Araba when a Shera or a Eridachas, a subverted city, is possible. Nektar Moshe Nefert to Aleha, but Safsafa Psula. And a Rav whose top was cut off, or most of his leaves torn off, or a Safsafa. Safsafa is the type of a rava whose leaves are round, is possible. Kamusha, if an arava is merely withered rather than completely dry, the shenashru mixes or if some of its leaves fell off, the baal, or is from a field that was watered by the rain and did not grow by a brook, kashera, it is kosher. So you can have, I don't recommend this to my customers because they like to make a sale, but you can have an arava that looks like it's it's not as fresh as the first day of Yom Tov, so it's still kosher according to the Mishnah. And our Araba practical halacha, but according to the Mishnah, that's still kosher. Rabbi Yishmael Omer Shlosha Hadassim V'Shtei Aravos Lulav Echad Esrog Echad. Rabbi Yishmael says that the mitzvah is to take 3 hadassim, 2 aravos, 1 lulav, and 1 esrog. Afilu shnayim ketumim ve'echad enokatim. The hadassim are kosher even if 2 of them are clipped, and that the tops are cut off, and 1 is not clipped. Retired says afilu shloshta ketumim, that a person fulfills the mitzvah even if all 3 of the hadassim are clipped. Rabbi Akiva says kashem lulav echad ve'esrog echad, just as one needs 1 lulav, 1 esrog, kach hadas achas v'rava achas, so too one needs only 1 hadas and 1 arava, which obviously cannot be clipped if you only have 1. I guess if someone's on a budget and they can only afford 1 hadas and 1 arava, it's probably better than not having anything at all. Mishnah Hey, esrog hagozov hayavish posel. Stolen esrog or a dry one is posel. Shall shiur shall inidachas posel, and esrog of an shira or a subverted city is also possible. So that's consistent across all 4 minim. Shall orla shall posel. An esrog from orla is possible because it may not be eaten, can't have any benefit from the orla fruits. So truma tamei posel, or an esrog from truma that is tamei, it's possible for the same reason. Because it has to be a fruit that you're able to eat, and if it's an orla or truma which you cannot eat because they're tame or it's orla, then you can't use it for the mitzvah. So truma tahora, an esrog of truma that is tahor, lo yito should not. He should not take it because he might make it become tummy, which is usher. But if he did take it, it is kosher. Shall demai, and that's from demai. Demai, remember, is produce that you're not sure if it was a meiser or not. It's from aretz. It might be meiser, it might not be. Beishamai post and Beishamai rule that it is possible, because Beishamai holds that the mai cannot be eaten by anyone. The Beis Hillel machshirin, but Beis Hillel rule that it is kosher because the mai can be eaten by a poor person. So ma'aseh sheni b'Yerushalayim, and esrog ma'aseh sheni that's inside Yerushalayim. Well, you told he should not take it because he might make it tame, which is also not kosher. But if you did take it, it is kosher. But preferably you shouldn't take it to use. Mishnah Vav, Alsa Chazazis Aruba. If a Chazazis, Chazazis is a deformity that looks like a cluster of small blisters. If it arose on most of an etrog, right, the Nikla Pitmaso, or if its pitum fell off, it was removed or fell off. Niklaf, or if its skin, the outer membrane was entirely peeled off. Nistak, or it was split. Nikov, or it has a hole, and the slightest amount of the etrog is missing. Possible, no good. These things happen a lot, and that's why I spend the time to go through every etrog to make sure that we're not selling any of these that are damaged, especially any of these psulim. It's a problem. Al chazazis al miyuto. If a chazazis arose on less than half of it, nital so, or if the stem at the bottom, which was attached to the tree, was removed, nika v'lo chas kosher, or if it has a hole but nothing is missing, kosher. It is kosher. It is kosher. Mishnah is referring to a hole that is not wider than Isser, which is about 1.2 inches. If it's wider than Isser, disqualifies the etrog, even if nothing is missing. I mean, a hole on an etrog that's 1.2 inches, that's a pretty big hole. So I don't know I wouldn't even sell those, but who knows? Etrog kakushi puzzle, a black etrog is puzzle, but v'hayarok kikarsi, and the law of one that is green like a leek, regarding an etrog that is green like a leek, Mayor Maksha, Mayor rules that it's kosher, but Yehuda Posel, Yehuda says it is possible. It's not fully developed. The preferred, it was like a light green color or a greenish yellow, like a blend. Those are kosher, but an avocado green is possible. Shiur etrog akatan, the minimum size of an etrog. Rabbi Meir Omer, Rabbi Meir Kegels. Rabbi Meir says it's the size of a walnut. That's pretty small. Rabbi Yehuda Omer Kebesa, Rabbi Yehuda says it must be as large as an egg. Over Gadol, the maximum size of an etrog, Kadesh Yachov Shnayim Biyado Achas. Must be small enough that a person can hold two of them in one hand. The Rabbi Yehuda, this is according to Rabbi Yehuda, Rabbi Yossi Omer Barish, it says Afilo Echad B'shtei Yadav. Even if it's so large, the person would need both of his hands to hold one. It is kosher. He did not place any limit on how large the etrog may be. That's why you see sometimes you have like these big Yemenite etrogim that are like, I once had one that was like 5 pounds. It was a pretty big etrog. 10 pounds. It was 10 pounds. It was 10-pound etrog. It's huge. Mishnah Ches. Ein ogdin as lulav ela b'mino. We may not bind the lulav, hadassim, and rose together except with parts of their own species, such as their stems, branches, or leaves. Different Yehuda is according to Yehuda. Rabbi Meir Omer says, "Afilu b'mashicha." We may bind them together even with a string of linen or something similar. Rabbi Meir holds that the binding is done really to make the species look more appealing, and therefore any material is fit for this purpose. I think with halacha we only use like lulav leaf or something like that. That's minimum, but according to Meir, you can use anything you want. Meir says, "My sponsor Yerushalayim." It happened with the men from Yerushalayim. That they would bind their lulavim, hadassim, eros together with bands of gold. This shows that any type of material is acceptable. Meir, the Chacham said to him, they rejected his proof. Bemino hayu ogdin osam lamata. In fact, that they bound it bound the lulav together with hadassim and aravot. With they bound all three together with parts of their own species underneath the bands of gold, and therefore they fulfilled the mitzvah of binding with with a mimbamino, and then they put the gold on top of that. I saw last season. I saw in like the silver store they had silver lulav rings. I guess it was for the same concept that first you put on the lulav ring, where you tie it up with a lulav leaf, and then you put the silver ones on top. I never bought them. Maybe I'll buy it for this year. Oh, who knows? Someone wants to buy me a present. You could buy me the lulav rings that are made out of silver. I'm just joking. Okay. So now, Mr. Tesh, we're going to talk about the Na'anuim. The Heichen Hayim and Na'anim. At which point in Hallel do we waive the four species? So we all know, but Hodu La Hashem Tchilu. So we waive them when we're saying the pasuk Hodu La Hashem Kitov Kilo Chazdo, both at the beginning and at the end. Anytime you say that pasuk in Hallel during Sukkot, you wave your lulav. With Ana Hashem Shiana, and when reciting Ana, please Hashem save us now. Beis Hillel. This is according to Beis Hillel. Beis Shammai says, Af Ana Hashem Hatzlichana. We also wave them when they say, please Hashem bring success now. Right. The Beis Shammai would say it for that too. Rabbi Akiva says, Sova Hayisi, Rabbi Gamliel, Rabbi Yeshua. I was watching Rabbi Gamliel, Rabbi Yeshua as they recited Hallel with the tzibor. Shekol ha'am haymenanim as lulavehem, and I saw that all the people waved their lulav, not only when saying Ana Hashem Mashiach, but also Ana Hashem Atzlichana. Ve'hein lo yinanu ela b'Ana Hashem Mashiach. Rabbi Gamliel, Rabbi Yeshua did not wave the lulav by Ana Hashem Atzlichana, but rather only by Ana Hashem Hoshiana in accordance with Beis Hillel. If someone was traveling on the road and he did not have a lulav with him to take and perform the mitzvah, the law is that when he enters his house, he should take the lulav even at his table, even in the middle of eating a meal. If someone did not take the lulav in the morning, he should take it in the afternoon. Shakol hayom kosher lulav, because the entire day is kosher for the mitzvah of taking lulav. That's how you see like the Chabaniks to walk around the whole day, getting anyone that's Jewish to say lulav during during Chol Hamoed. I once went to a Chabanik on Chol Hamoed. I asked him if he put on tefillin. I said, "You want to put on tefillin?" He looked at me like I was crazy, and I am crazy. What are you gonna do? Okay. Mishnah Yud, Misha Haya Eved or Isha or Katan Makrina. So if someone has a Kanani, a woman or a minor recite the Hallel for him, but because he doesn't know how to read it, recite himself, oh no, he must repeat after them what they say, since they are not obligated in elements of Hallel, he cannot fulfill his chiyuv by listening to them. Rather, he must say each word after them. And let a curse be upon him because he did not learn how to say Hallel himself. I mean, that's like kind of basic stuff. And you don't know how to say Hallel, then according to the Mishnah, there should be a curse upon them. So, however, if he had a Jewish adult male recited for him on the Acharav Hallelujah, then he responds after him, Hallelujah, praise Hashem. That's that, he could say a couple of words and he responds, Hallelujah. Go on throughout the whole house. I think the Taimanim do that now. Malka Mishnah Aleph Makum Shanal the Lichba Yichba, in a place where the people follow the custom to repeat each of the last 9 psukim of the last chapter Hallel. One should do that and repeat those verses. You have, what is it? Oh, the Hakiyani Santi Vadili Lishua, right? We start repeating, we repeat all those psukim. Lift shot, yif shot, and a place where the custom is to say each one of these psukim only once. One should follow the custom and only say them once. The varich achar, yivarich achar. In a place where the minhag is to recite the blessing after Hallel, one should follow that minhag and recite the blessing after Hallel. Hakol k'minhag hamadina. Everything should be done according to the local custom. Halokeya. Now it's interesting because this does a. Let's say it later. It's too late. Halokeach lulav mechaver b'shviyah. Someone buys a lulav from his friend who's an aretz during Shemitah, which obviously referring to a lulav from Eretz Yisrael. No saying lo esrog b'matana. The buyer must insist that the seller give him the esrog as a gift, quote unquote. The fee she'ein r'shai l'lacha b'shviyas, because he is not allowed to buy it during Shemitah, because the Shemitah produce is kadosh and you cannot pay for the fruit. Nowadays, but nowadays you're not paying for the fruit, but you're paying for all the ancillary costs, like the box and the shipping and all the labor involved. That's the money that goes into the esrog. In fact, when I deal with during Shemitah, we usually sell Moroccan more than Israeli. They still have some Israeli esrogim, and in the Israeli esrogim, I'm very careful not to make a profit on the Shemitah esrogim. You just add in a couple of bucks for ancillary costs, and obviously you can cover your cost if you fun times. But Mr. Yed Base, Rishona Haya Lulav Nital B'Mikdash Shiva. Originally, when the Beis Hamikdash stood, the lulav was taken in the Beis Hamikdash on all 7 days of Sukkot, including Shabbos, Uvinadina Yom Echad, and the provinces outside the Mikdash was taken on only one day, on the first day of Sukkot, which was Deraisa. Mishachara Beis Hamikdash, when the second Mikdash was destroyed, Hiskim Yochanan and Zakah Shei Lulav Nital Medina Shiva Zechel Mikdash. Yochanan and Zakah instituted that the lulav be taken even in the provinces on all 7 days of Sukkot, in commemoration of what was done in the Mikdash. That's well, it says all 7 days. That's except for Shabbos, when the Chachamim answered taking the Arba Minim out of concern that he might carry them in the Rosh Hashanah. I get so I wonder where it came to. I wonder where it came to only take it in the Medina, like outside the Mikdash, only one day. Like where does that even come from? I'll look that up later. Hey, yo, Yom Hanef Kulo Aser, and he decreed in addition to the decree against the lulav, he also decreed that the new crop is forbidden the entire day of waving, which is the second day of Pesach, which is when the Korban Omer was to be brought and waved in the Mikdash. So back in the times, as the Sotre and the Rambam, just happened to coincide with this Perek, the Rambam says that on the 16th of Nisan, when the Beis understood that the new crop would be Chadash, would be mutter after Chatzos, because Beis Din was very careful, to bring the Korban Omer in the morning. And nowadays, without the Beis Hamikdash, the sorry, but nowadays it's also the whole day, the 16th, and it's only mutter on the 17th. Okay, Mishnah Yagimel. Yom Tov Harishon Shel Chag Shechalil Shabbos. When the first day Yom Tov fell on Shabbos, Kol Ha'am Olichin Es Levein Lebeis Knesses. All the people would bring their lulavim, meaning the Arba Minim, to the shul before Shabbos, but you can't carry them in the street on Shabbos. L'machras Maskimim Uba'in. And the next day they would come to shul early in the morning. Kol Echad Makir Es Lo V'Not. Everyone would recognize his own lulav and take it to perform the mitzvah. Everyone had to use his own lulav and not borrow someone else's, because even with the owner's permission, because you can't use a bar lulav. Because the Chachamim said that a person cannot fulfill his chiyuv of on the first day of the Chag with the lulav of his friend. And on the other days of the Chag, a person can fulfill his obligation with the lulav of his friend. So, of course, they had back in the day, they had like the special fancy lulav cases with your name on it. Of course they had that. Mishnah Yadalid. I mean, how are we supposed to recognize a lulav and that is your name, like writing your name on it, or like a box or something like that? I wonder. I mean, that's probably why they stopped it. But I wonder when that was Mavato. Because it sounds like from the Mishnah that they did it on Shabbos. So when did they Mavato that? Mishnah Yadal, Yossi says, Yom Tarishon Shel Chag Shechal Yus B'Shabbos. On the first day of the Chag fell on Shabbos, first day of Sukkot. The Shachach B'Hotzi Eselul Rosh Hashanah, and he forgot that was Shabbos, and he carried the lulav out in Rosh Hashanah into a Rosh Hashanah in preparation for the mitzvah. Pater, he is not chayiv to bring a chatas. He's pater from that. Because he carried it out with permission, he carried it out for the sake of the mitzvah. Though he was usher, it was usher to carry it even for this purpose. Rabbi Yossi holds that the one who mistakenly violates Shabbos because he was busy with the mitzvah does not have to bring a korban chatas. Like mohel on Shabbos, with the bris on Shabbos, he has to go carry his stuff and get the baby and do the milah. So the chora, if someone did carry out a lulav, or even a shofar for that matter, according to the Mishnah, he will not be chayiv. He still shouldn't do it. And the last Mishnah for today, thank you for hanging it in here. It's a long Perek, Mikabeles, Mishnah Tezvav, Mikabeles, Isha miyabina umiyabala amachzira so the mayim b'Shabbos. A woman may receive the lulav from the hand of her son or from the hand of her husband after they perform the mitzvah with it and put it back in its water to keep it fresh. Rabbi Yehuda says Shabbos machzirin on Shabbos we may put it back into its water, but we may not add water, so not change the water. The Yontav Masifim, on Yontav we may add water, but we may not change the water. Of a Moed, Machlifin, and a Chalamayed, we may not change the water. We may change the water. You can change the water on Chalamayed. People always ask me how do I keep the hadassim fresh, the rows fresh all week. And I always say the same answer. I say I'm the worst person to ask that question too, because I, as a seller, I buy everything wholesale, and I change my aravot every day, and I change my hadassim every other day during Sukkot, so they're always fresh. But so I'm not the worst guy to ask. If you're asking me, I'm going to tell you to buy another couple of sets. But I'm not. So ask someone else how to keep them fresh all week. A minor who is old enough to know how to wave the lulav is chayiv to perform the mitzvah of lulav. His father is obligated, derabanan, to train him to do the mitzvah of Arba Minim. I just wanted to add. I'm going to add in for a minute regarding Hallel. If you notice in Hallel, you're repeating all those psukim, but if you're looking at the Hillel, the pasuk actually reads Ana Hashem Oshiana, Ana Hashem Haslichan. That's the actual pasuk. But what do we say during Hallel? We say Ana Hashem Oshiana, Ana Hashem Oshiana, Ana Hashem Haslichana, Ana Hashem Haslichana. We're breaking that pasuk into two different segments. Like, how does that work exactly? So I once asked a Shaila, and I got a wonderful answer. And that the whole Hallel is shevach and odaya to Hashem. It's all praise. But Chazal wanted to put in one bakasha, and that bakasha was by Ana Hashem Oshiana. So for those two lines, they changed the tzura of the pasuk from Shevach and Hadah to Hashem to a bakasha. And that's why it stands out as its own separate section. Ana Hashem Moshiana, Ana Hashem Moshiana, Ana Hashem Aslichana, Ana Hashem Aslichana. Thank you for joining us. Have a wonderful day. We continue tomorrow with Perek Daled of Sukkah, and we wrap it up on Friday. Have a wonderful day.